Linda, how do I watch it?
Hello. Hi. What's happening?
You're live.
I know, but I'm just kind of curious. Hello, it's Vicky Benison here. And this is Pastor Granny's very first live session. So it's a bit of an experiment. And welcome. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be talking directly with you. And yeah, so I can see that there are 14 of you. 18 of you. So thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, so we've got some previous questions. Yeah, there. I'm being told that actually all you can see is my nose or something like that. Yeah, so I've got Linda next door to me, who is Pastor Granny's social media channel. Say hi, Linda.
Hello. Oh, you can't see me.
Well, there we go.
Hello. Very short.
Very small. So she's going to feed me some of your questions, but please ask away. Ciao, Tomato. Hello, Tomato. And Isabel. And Antonietta from Canada. Hello. Hello. You love our channel. Thank you very much indeed. It's great. There are 1.3 million of you on YouTube these days. Which always staggers me completely. Pastor Granny's has been going for about 10 years now, and it's amazing it's taken us this long to get to a live. It's probably because one of our questions is, how old am I? And I'm 66, and I'm going to say that once.
Good question.
Hi from it's Patty from Louisiana. That's wonderful. Hi.
That's from America.
America, yeah. So that's good.
Okay. Do you want to update people? Maybe
okay, so Linda says, let me update you. So what Pastor Granny been up to? We were in Sicily a couple of weeks ago, and that was really good fun. We go away filming on location about once every 6 to 8 weeks. It gets a bit expensive to go away. So our next one is going to be in May, our next major one, and that's going to be to Puglia. It's been about 5 or 6 years since we've been to Puglia, and it's calling out to us. We need a few grannies from down there. So if you've got an honor, please let me know. And one of the questions actually people always ask me is, how do you find your grannies? How do you find le nonne, le signore? And for that, I nowadays, in fact, Livia's been with me for about 7 years, 8 years maybe. Livia Di Giovanni, she's my granny finder. It's her full-time job, is to talk to grandmothers. In fact, what she does usually is talk to the families of grandmothers. We don't ever talk to grannies in isolation. We always talk to a member of their family and make sure everybody's happy and consents to them being filmed. And they can change their minds at any time, and they do. Yeah, so that's how we find our grandmothers.
More people joining in.
Hello from Nellie from Concord, New Hampshire. Hi. Hi, Patty. We said hello already. I've got long. You see, this is me. Shane Best. Hello. Brazil. Excellent. Everybody. My God, I've got it's a global audience, and that is the amazing thing. Sweden. We got people from Sweden. Andreas.
Been watching for a week now. New viewer.
Oh, a new viewer. Yes. And then there's Martin. Hi. So Amsterdam. How lovely. Amsterdam.
And you're working on a new book.
Yes. So what's happening? Well, I'm in the middle of book 3. I'm halfway through writing it. Every day I kind of count the number of recipes that I've written. So book 3 is currently called, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but it's a secret, non-approved, and it's going to be published in 2026. So it's a little while to go yet. But the process of book publication is a really long one. So even though I'll submit the text in July, it then takes forever. It then gets turned into book formats and gets printed, and it kind of sells around the world, and eventually ends up with you. I hope you'll enjoy it when it eventually gets published. So that's the book. We've also been experimenting with Pasta Grannies Club, which you can find on our website. And that's where you'll get extra content and behind the scenes and that kind of thing. So check out pastagrannies.com. What else have we been up to?
Got a question for someone saying,
Yes.
can I recommend a granny for you? Do you have a process for people who want to recommend?
Ah, Steve. Hi, Steve. Yes. So if you would like to nominate your granny or a relative for Pasta Grannies, first of all, ask them. It's remarkable the number of people who say, oh, I've got a great granny. And then you find out that actually they don't want to be filmed. So please, first of all, ask the person that you love and you love their food and stuff. Secondly, what you do then is write to me, old-fashioned email, Vicky@pastagrannies.com. And then we can explain the process in more detail. We'll, how likely is it that we'll turn up in the next 6 weeks, for example, or is it going to be a little bit longer because we've only just visited your region? We can't just jump around and go back and forward. We kind of take a considered view of north and south and different pastas and that kind of thing. So it might take a little while to reach your grandmother wherever they happen to be. And in fact, you could volunteer ones in America or Canada. If we get enough of them, we're coming to find you.
Or you can mention the cruise as well.
Ah, yes. So yeah, this is going to sound a bit weird, but Virgin Voyages asked if I wanted to go on a cruise, and normally I would say no, but then I thought this is a really good way of visiting bits of the Mediterranean that I wouldn't actually go. And so I've set myself this task of going around Europe in a week and trying to find a pasta granny in every port. And that's going to be the first week of July. And that will, a challenge for pasta grannies. And so, yes. So I'm
So
Vincent.
But what was the topic of book 3? I missed it when you were talking about
it. Oh, okay. Topic of book 3, I'm calling it Nonna Approved. And it's a collection of recipes that quite a lot of them are still pasta, but less emphasis on fresh pasta. It's like those really good recipes that are fast, that you can make midweek, and also recipes for celebrations and that kind of thing.
And do you have any viewers, fans who travel with you?
I know where that's coming from. There'll be an awful lot of you who will be coming with me. I am really trying hard to find ways of getting a Pasta Grannies tour off the ground. It's a little bit more complicated than you might suppose. So first of all, with the best one in the world, you won't be able to all fit into a granny's kitchen. They're tiny. So we have to think about, will these grandmothers move? Where will we set the scene for them to sort of share their skills with you? Those sorts of things. It's quite a lot of thought that has to go into it, but we would love to take you with us at some point.
So someone is asking, and maybe that's a really good question for people who have recently joined the channel.
Yes.
Have you shared why, who had the idea for the channel and why? And also, what did you do before? Were you a chef?
So I set up, it was my idea. 10 years ago, I noticed that it was only older women who were making pasta by hand. I'm lucky enough to have a home in Italy. And so in that region, I was kind of noticing it was only women over about the age of 80 that was getting up at 5 in the morning in the summer to avoid the heat so she could make pasta. And I thought, you know what, it really would be nice to sort of make a record of that generation for whom pasta making was a way of life rather than a choice or a hobby or something like that. So originally, I thought it was going to be a book, and it is a book, but I decided that the physicality of pasta making was such that it needed to be filmed. And there was this fairly new thing called YouTube. And I thought, well, we'll put it there. And so in the very early days, if you go back to the beginning of the channel, the videos there, you can see there's one camera and it's me kind of absolutely rigid, kind of not moving. And that's how Pasta Granny started 10 years ago. Yeah.
And what were you doing before, Pasta
Granny? Oh, what was I doing before? I was a management consultant. I specialized in something called international development. So that took me to weird parts of the world, not so weird parts of the world, like South Africa and Turkmenistan and Kenya and all sorts of places. And so that's how, I had lots of adventures doing other things, and food was the common thing. I would always start off in a market to see what produce was there, how were people cooking it, that kind of thing.
So also, how did you end up in Italy? They're asking.
Well, I've always loved Italian food. My first time to Italy was at the age of 5 with my parents, and eating spaghetti in Venice. That was my first experience of Italian food. So I've been going back ever since, and I chose Marche as a region because it was cheap. Tuscany gets a little bit expensive to buy property. So, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I don't know if it's not a well-known part of Italy. It has mountains and sea, and it's got lots of history, and it's a lovely, lovely part of the peninsula.
If you could move anywhere else now in Italy, where would you move?
Yes, that's a good question. I'm actually very happy with where we are, and I think sometimes an international airport would be quite helpful. So maybe Lazio, maybe Liguria. I'm very fond of Liguria. Yes, so it's a game I play, but I haven't actually come to a decision about where else I would live.
I know this is a hard question for you, but people are asking what's your favorite recipe, and I'm assuming pasta recipes are the non-main.
Yeah, I don't like answering that question because my mood changes. I mean, I love all pasta. I usually say panzotti, which is a pasta recipe from Liguria, and it involves stuffing it with foraged greens called prébergine, and it's got about 13 different herbs that are supposed to go into it. And you serve these little sort of belly button type ravioli with a walnut salsa. It's got garlic and things like that, and it's absolutely delicious.
That's good. Also, how much traveling do you do in a week for Pasta Grannies?
So as you can see, I'm not out on the road. I'm at home, and so what? In London, yeah, sorry, in London. That's where my husband is. He likes to see me occasionally, and so we go away about every 5 or 6 weeks to film, and then we'll film 2 grannies a day, maybe 1, depends on their story and where they are. And so we'll kind of go away for about 5 days, and that kind of keeps us going, keeps the engine of producing videos going. So most of the time I'm not on the road, as much as that would be fun. I would be spherical. And, you kind of, even after 5 days, you kind of go into a kind of carb coma. You're kind of going, oh my gosh, because it's so delicious, and you have to eat pasta about 4 times a day. So,
how many people do you think we usually film in a week?
So we maximum 2 a day. It gets, that gives us enough time with the grandmothers, because for them it's a very special occasion. It's a new thing. We want them to be relaxed when we're filming them. And so we can't kind of rush in and rush out. We ideally we'd spend all week with them, but I mean, we can't. And so, so that gives us time, and we want the experience of filming them to be like having a chat. We want it to be conversational, and so that's why we use small cameras and that kind of thing when we're filming them.
Do you speak Italian?
Sempre provo.
Lucy, Amelia said, I only make homemade pasta for my family now, thanks to you and all the grannies for the inspiration.
Oh, absolute pleasure. I love hearing stories like that. Yeah, it's very satisfactory. A, to make it, B, to hear it. Yeah.
We got a few questions of viewers that they submitted before.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. So do you have a favorite aperitif or amaro before or after your pasta dishes?
Yeah, aperitivo hour. I love that. It's a very civilized thing that the Italians do, is to sit down with friends with a drink and little bits to eat. So my favorite actually is either a glass of Franciacorta, not an Amaro. A Franciacorta is a very, very wonderful champagne method sparkling wine from near Lake Iseo, and you get some absolutely outstanding wines there. And the other thing I really enjoy is Campari. I also like the local Venice version called Select, which is slightly less bitter, but it's not like Aperol, which for me is a little bit sweet and orangey, and so I prefer a more kind of grown-up bitter Campari.
Just stopping the questions because Martin is saying it's beautiful what you're doing, keeping cultural heritage alive.
Thank you.
Nice.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Speaking of drinks, another question from viewers is, what wine do you pair with your pasta dishes? And I'm assuming your favorite pasta dish.
So what wines? Well, that depends on the pasta. So the heavier meat ragouts obviously would be a red wine, but you can break rules. It's up to you. So a very good white wine is local to me. So somebody's asked, where do I live in Italy? It's called Marche. It's on the Adriatic side of Italy, and the area is famous for a white wine called Verdicchio. And it's a most beautiful wine that actually goes great with food. All types of food. It's a very good food wine. So look out for Verdicchio.
I'm assuming lots of more people are joining now. And one of the questions is, your books are great. Will there be a third?
Yes, there will be a third book in 2026. It's called Nonna Approved.
Oh, this is an interesting question. Do you have a favorite Italian restaurants in London? They need some inspiration.
Oh, Dalla in Hackney. That was a very authentic. I'm always a Manteca. That's also a really, really outstanding restaurant. Trullo is these are all London based because I live in London.
Another question from Francesco is, how do you get in touch with those beautiful ladies who hold those traditions?
Hello, Francesco. Yes, I have a granny finder called Livia De Giovanni, and she's my granny finder. So it's her responsibility to make contact with grandmothers and their families. And how we go about it is usually through community representatives. It's the mayor, it's the pro loco, people who can make the appropriate introductions.
Oh, great. And someone saying that all these restaurants are really nice restaurants in London, all the ones that you mentioned.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like them. Thank you.
So do you have, someone's asking, I guess you mentioned it a bit before, but do you have a favorite town in Italy?
Well, I have to say Cingoli, where I live. That's the first one. I wouldn't have chosen it otherwise. I very much like other little towns. I mean, look, there are lots of fantastic towns everywhere. I mean, yes, of course, Florence, Firenze, yes, of course, Rome, yes, all of those are popular for a reason, but try and explore some of the unknown places of Italy, because they're just as gorgeous. And so Urbino, for example, in Marche, is this lovely little town on a hilltop, and you can see how all the medieval painters were inspired by that kind of landscape of castles on steep hills and that kind of thing. So yeah.
And do you stay in touch with pasta grannies?
Yes.
After filming them?
Yes, we do. We kind of, when we think about going somewhere, you go, oh, we haven't seen so-and-so for a while. Let's go and visit her and stuff like that. In fact, Irma, who is our oldest pasta granny, she's 105 this week on the 14th. And so Olivia dropped in on her a couple of weeks ago. We go back, we try and see grannies. Not everybody wants to see us again. I mean, they're busy lives that our women lead. So, but we are very keen on. Olivia always jokes that her phone is just full of people.
It's the families, right?
The families as well. So we're always in touch with people.
And also someone sent Irma a birthday card from Canada.
Oh, that story, yes. So Irma is going to be 105, and she has lots of fans. And one of them from Canada, Paul from Canada, wrote, Irma, 104 or 105, and didn't even get the town. Anyway, it found her. I mean, there'll be a social post, an Instagram post about this, but that card found Emma. So she's well known.
Maybe we can mention that if anyone has any last minute questions.
We've got to go. This is, I mean, so any last
10 minutes. So
I've got 10 minutes. Any other questions?
They're still waiting for the pear cheese ravioli recipe from the Dolomites. You mentioned that before?
You have a long memory. You're a long time fan. Are you? So yes.
It's from Anne Marie.
Did you make it, Anne Marie? Are you the granny involved?
She's hoping for the recipe.
She's hoping for the recipe. I'm very sorry we didn't get around to doing it. I will make it my mission to get the footage and make that. Are you sure we haven't done it? Are you sure?
Ravioli recipe.
Are you sure we haven't?
Can look now.
We'll look now. We'll look up now and see it. We'll hunt it down and make sure it's there.
From Spera.
In the meantime, do you ever visit grannies outside of Italy?
Yes. Yes, we do. So the pandemic got in the way of America quite quickly. I mean, we're everywhere, really. So in theory, I would like to visit the Italian diaspora around the world, like Brazil and things. It's just a question of getting there. I mean, so yeah, I would love to do that.
Anne Marie says she had a hotel in the Dolomites. It's not really made it yet, but she's waiting for it to go up.
We'll definitely go and find that episode. Yeah.
Oh, Mike is saying, any chance you will be visiting Greek yayas?
Oh, I'd love to film some Greek yayas. Yeah, that would be fantastic. It's just a question of organizing it. And also, I don't speak Greek. One of the important things about filming is to be able to speak the same language. So when you start doing it through an interpreter, it becomes more difficult and more formal and less chatty. So it's something to bear in mind.
Valeria's asking if there's one thing that you like least about Italy. Good question.
Oh, I find the bureaucracy can be a little frustrating, but it's there for a good reason.
And how do you get recipes from grandmothers who are usually so jealous of cooking secrets?
You're right. We have to guess. We become expert guessers, and then we test the recipes. We have a recipe tester, Julia. So before it gets into the book, we kind of try it out and make sure that we've guessed correctly.
Someone is wondering about granny. So they're saying, what's the latest on Fanny for the escarole pizza pie?
She died. Yes, I'm sorry. She died about a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that happens to all grandmothers. So yes, we've lost her. So next question.
We have loads of questions from our Sicily trip.
Okay.
So, for example, this is a bit. So, does Sardinia or Sicily have the best pasta?
Does Sardinia or Sicily have the best pasta? No. Loaded question. I mean, that rather depends on from what point of view. Are you just talking about a restaurant? Are you talking about stories and the traditions that those pastas represent? Because for me, Sardinia has the most extraordinary, interesting, intricate pastas. Do they make the best eating? Not necessarily. Some of the timbalos that you get in Sicily are fantastic. So yeah, it's both of them that have great pastas.
Have you ever eaten a meal where you ended up not tasting as good as intended?
A pasta granny's meal, I mean.
A pasta granny's meal that didn't taste as good.
You did have the sweet.
There's in 10 years of filming, I've only had one that was a little bit searching to try, and that was chestnut polenta. It's like sweet wall paste paper. It's not good. And yes,
there was a message, but he disappeared.
Would you do a new T-shirt design? Was the question.
Sorry?
Would you be up for doing another T-shirt design?
Probably. Maybe. That's not so.
And another one about, would you do any food tours for viewers and members?
Yeah.
Food tours.
I would love